Maya Johnson stepped into the opulent shopping mall, her heart fluttering with excitement. The cool air enveloped her like a refreshing embrace, a welcome contrast to the warmth of the sun outside. She paused for a moment, taking in the grandeur that surrounded her. The polished marble floors gleamed under the shimmering chandeliers, and the elegant displays of luxury goods beckoned invitingly. After receiving a promotion at work, she felt it was the perfect time to indulge herself. "I deserve this," she whispered to herself, a small smile creeping onto her lips. As she strolled deeper into the mall, Maya felt a mix of joy and apprehension. The upscale environment was a world away from her everyday life, one that often felt riddled with challenges and assumptions due to her race. Yet today, she wanted to shed those feelings, even if just for a while. She admired a stunning display of fine jewelry in a nearby store, the sparkles catching her eye and igniting a desire to treat herself. "Wow, look at that bracelet," she murmured, her fingers brushing against the glass display. "It's beautiful." Just then, she overheard two women nearby, their voices low but unmistakably tinged with skepticism. "Do you think she can even afford that?" one of them whispered, her tone dripping with condescension. Maya's heart sank. She tried to shake off the comment, but the weight of their judgment pressed heavily on her. She glanced at the women, who were clad in designer clothes and dripping in jewels, their laughter echoing like a mocking chorus in her ears. "Maybe I shouldn't be here," she thought, her confidence wavering. Yet, she steeled herself, reminding herself of her accomplishments and the hard work that had brought her to this moment. Determined to push through, Maya continued browsing, but the whispers lingered in her mind like a stubborn shadow. She admired a pair of diamond earrings, envisioning how they would look on her, but the self-doubt began to creep back in. "Maybe I'm out of my league," she muttered under her breath, shaking her head. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. Two security guards approached her, their expressions unreadable, but their posture exuding authority. "Excuse me, ma'am," one of them said, his voice firm yet patronizing. "Can we help you with something?" Maya's stomach twisted with a mix of indignation and embarrassment. She could feel the heat rising to her cheeks. "I'm just looking, thank you," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. The other guard crossed his arms, his gaze scrutinizing. "Are you sure you're in the right place? This is a high-end store, and we just want to ensure everything is in order." Her heart raced, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "I have every right to be here," she asserted, her voice gaining strength. "I came to shop." The first guard exchanged a glance with his partner, a smirk barely concealed on his lips. "Of course, but we've had some issues lately, and we need to make sure our clientele is appropriate." Maya's frustration flared, and she felt a rush of adrenaline. "I am appropriate. I work hard for what I have, and I'm here to enjoy it like anyone else." "Just trying to keep the peace, ma'am," the second guard replied, his tone dripping with condescension. Maya's eyes blazed with anger. "You don't even know me. This is ridiculous." The guards stepped back, their expressions now a mixture of annoyance and disbelief, as if her indignation was an inconvenience. Maya felt humiliated, the warmth of the mall now stifling. As they continued to watch her, she realized the moment was bigger than herself. It was a reflection of a society that often questioned her presence, her worth, and her right to exist in spaces deemed exclusive. "Just leave me alone," she said, turning away, her voice a mixture of hurt and defiance. As she walked away, her heart pounded in her chest. The whispers and the guard's scrutiny echoed in her mind, a relentless reminder of the biases she faced. But beneath the humiliation, a flicker of determination ignited within her. This moment wouldn't define her. It would fuel her resolve to confront the injustice head-on. Maya stepped out of the jewelry store, her heart heavy with a mix of humiliation and anger. The polished marble floor of the mall felt colder beneath her feet now, each step echoing her discontent. She pulled out her phone, her fingers trembling slightly as she scrolled through her contacts. After a moment of hesitation, she pressed on Lena's name, hoping her best friend could somehow lift her spirits. "Hey girl, I was just thinking about you." Lena's voice chimed through the receiver, bright and cheerful. Maya took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "Lena, you won't believe what just happened," Maya said, the words spilling out in a rush. "I was in the store just looking around and the security guards came up to me." "Wait, what? Security guards?" Lena interrupted, her tone shifting to concern. "What did they say?" "They questioned me about whether I could afford the items." "Can you believe that?" Maya's voice cracked, her frustration bubbling to the surface. "They acted like I didn't belong there. It was so degrading." There was a brief silence on the other end. Maya could almost hear Lena processing the information. "Maya, I'm so sorry. That's awful. You have every right to be there, just like anyone else. Did you confront them?" "I tried, but they just brushed me off. I felt so small," Maya admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maya, this is not okay. You need to stand up for yourself. You need to share what happened. People need to know," Lena urged passionately. Maya pondered Lena's words. "You really think it would make a difference?" "Absolutely. You have a voice. Use it. Post about it on social media. Let people see what's happening," Lena encouraged, her voice filled with conviction. Taking a deep breath, Maya felt a flicker of determination ignite within her. "You're right. I can't let this slide. I'll post it now." "Good. I'll help you if you need it. Just remember, you're not alone in this," Lena said softly. After hanging up, Maya sat down on a nearby bench, her heart racing with a mix of fear and resolve. She opened her social media app, her fingers moving deftly across the screen as she composed her post. She included a vivid description of the incident, pouring her anger into every word. "Today, I experienced racial profiling while shopping in a luxury mall. I was treated as if I didn't belong. This is not just my story. It's a reality for many. We must stand against this injustice." As she hit post, a wave of anxiety washed over her. What if no one cared? What if people turned against her? But within minutes, notifications began flooding in. Friends, family, and even strangers started to share her post, adding their own comments of support and solidarity. "Maya, I'm so proud of you," Lena texted almost immediately. "Look at the responses. People are standing with you." As the likes and shares grew, Maya's resolve solidified. Her painful experience was resonating with others. She felt less alone, as if each supportive comment was a thread weaving a tapestry of strength around her. Inspired by the overwhelming response, Maya leaned back against the bench, her mind racing with ideas. This couldn't just be a moment. It needed to be a movement. She envisioned a peaceful protest at the mall, an opportunity to raise awareness about racial profiling and demand respect for all shoppers. "Maya, are you serious about this?" Lena's voice echoed in her mind, brimming with excitement. "We need to plan it out." "Yes, let's do it," Maya replied, her heart pounding. "We'll gather a group, make signs, and spread the word. We need to show them that we won't be silenced." As she began drafting a plan, each detail felt empowering. She imagined people coming together, sharing their stories, and standing in solidarity against the discrimination they had all faced in different forms. Maya knew it wouldn't be easy, but for the first time since the incident, she felt a sense of purpose. The pain of her experience was transforming into a catalyst for change, and she was ready to lead the way. The day of the protest dawned bright and clear, and the atmosphere outside the upscale mall was electric with anticipation. Maya Johnson stood at the forefront, her heart pounding in her chest as she scanned the gathering crowd. Beside her, Lena held a vibrant sign that read, "All shoppers deserve respect." The diverse group of supporters behind them carried a mosaic of messages, each one a testament to the collective pain and resilience of those who had faced discrimination. "Maya, look at everyone!" Lena exclaimed, her voice brimming with excitement. "This is amazing. We're not alone in this fight." Maya nodded, her throat tight with emotion. "I can't believe how many people showed up. It feels powerful." She took a deep breath, steadying herself. The moment had arrived to share her story, to transform her hurt into a call for justice. As they began to chant, "Say it loud, say it clear, racial profiling is not welcome here," the energy of the crowd surged. People of all backgrounds joined in, their voices harmonizing in a chorus of defiance. Maya stepped forward, grabbing the megaphone that Lena had prepared. She cleared her throat, the weight of the moment hanging heavily in the air. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice trembling slightly but growing stronger with each word. "I stand before you not only as a shopper who is wrongfully targeted, but as a woman who believes in the rights of every individual to be treated with dignity and respect." She paused, letting her words sink in, as the crowd erupted in cheers. "I came to this mall to celebrate my promotion, to treat myself to something nice," she continued, her eyes scanning the crowd. "But instead, I was met with suspicion, judgment, and humiliation. This happens far too often, not just to me, but to countless others who are judged by the color of their skin rather than the content of their character." As she spoke, the atmosphere became charged with emotion. People began to share their own stories, voices rising in solidarity. A young man stepped forward, his eyes filled with anger. "I was followed around a store just because I was wearing a hoodie. This has to stop." A woman chimed in, tears streaming down her face. "I've had my children questioned in stores because of how they look. They're just kids. Why should they feel unwelcome?" Maya listened, her heart swelling with empathy. This was more than just her story. It was a collective experience. She raised the megaphone again, her voice steady. "We are here today to say, no more. No more discrimination. No more profiling. We demand change, and we will not back down." The crowd erupted into cheers, the sound echoing off the glass facade of the mall. Cameras from local news stations captured the scene, broadcasting Maya's message to a wider audience. Just as she thought they might have reached a turning point, the atmosphere shifted. Security guards appeared, their expressions stern, marching towards the crowd like a wall of authority. "Everyone needs to disperse. This is private property," one of the guards barked, his voice cutting through the chants. A murmur of confusion rippled through the crowd. Maya felt a surge of determination. "We have a right to be here," she shouted back, her voice unwavering. "We're not causing trouble. We're here to stand up for our rights." The lead guard stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "This is your only warning. Leave now, or we will call the police." Maya's heart raced, but she stood her ground, flanked by her supporters. "You're the ones who should be ashamed. We're not going anywhere until our voices are heard." Tension crackled in the air, palpable and electric. A few onlookers began to film the confrontation, capturing the moment as Maya refused to back down. Lena grabbed Maya's arm, her grip firm, filled with a mix of fear and pride. "Maya, are you sure about this? What if they really call the police?" Maya locked eyes with her friend, determination blazing in her gaze. "We can't let them intimidate us. This is bigger than just one incident. It's about all of us." With that, the protest intensified. Voices rose, and the crowd held their ground, chanting louder, creating a united front against the oppressive presence of security. Maya's heart swelled with hope. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with. The fight was just beginning, and she was ready to lead the charge. The tension in the air was palpable as security guards advanced toward Maya, their expressions a mix of authority and suspicion. The crowd around her began to murmur, phones raised high to capture the unfolding scene. Maya stood firm, her heart racing as she felt the weight of every gaze upon her. "Excuse me, ma'am," one of the guards said, his voice dripping with condescension. "We need to ask you to leave the premises. You're causing a disturbance." Maya's fists clenched at her sides. "I'm not causing a disturbance. I'm here to shop, just like everyone else. Why are you treating me this way?" Her voice was steady, yet the underlying tremor of anger was unmistakable. The other guard interjected, crossing his arms. "We've had complaints. You need to understand that this is a high-end store, and we have a reputation to uphold." He glanced at the onlookers, a slight smirk on his lips, as if enjoying the spectacle. Maya's cheeks flushed with humiliation, yet she felt a fiery determination rise within her. "You have no right to question my presence here. I deserve the same respect as anyone else." The crowd began to stir, whispers turning into murmurs of agreement. "Don't let them intimidate you, Maya," Lena shouted from the back of the crowd, her voice cutting through the tension. "You belong here." Emboldened by her friend's support, Maya took a step forward, facing the guards head-on. "This is not just about me," she declared, her voice rising. "It's about every single person who has ever been judged based on the color of their skin. This is systemic racism in action." The guards exchanged glances, clearly unprepared for the confrontation they had ignited. One of the bystanders, a young woman with a camera, stepped closer. "I'm filming this," she announced, her voice firm. "People need to see what's happening here." As a realization of the crowd's support began to sink in, Maya felt a surge of strength. The whispers transformed into chants. "No more profiling. No more profiling." The words echoed around the mall, drawing even more attention. Shoppers paused, their curiosity piqued, some even joining the chorus of protest. In the midst of the chaos, the lead guard stepped closer to Maya, his voice now low and threatening. "You need to stop this now, or we will have to take you out of here." Maya held his gaze, her eyes fierce. "You think you can silence me? You think you can silence all of us?" She gestured to the growing crowd, each person now feeling the weight of her words. "This is a movement. We will not be silenced anymore." Suddenly, the guards reached for her, their hands gripping her arms with surprising force. "You're coming with us," one of them said, attempting to drag her away from the crowd. "Let her go," Lena shouted, pushing forward. "You can't just take her like this." But the guards were resolute, pulling Maya backward as the crowd surged forward, capturing the moment on their phones, the atmosphere thick with outrage and disbelief. The situation escalated, with people shouting for justice and demanding that she be released. As the guards led Maya away, the scene was caught on countless devices, and a viral hashtag began to trend on social media. #JusticeForMaya. The outrage spread like wildfire, igniting conversations around racial profiling and systemic discrimination across the nation. Back at home, Maya sat in front of her laptop, her heart racing as she watched the clips flood her social media feeds. Each post, each tweet, each shared video echoed the sentiments she had spoken that day. She felt a mix of empowerment and fear of the backlash that might come, but also an overwhelming sense of purpose. Lena joined her, plopping down next to her on the couch. "Look at this," she said, scrolling through the comments. "People are rallying behind you, Maya. They're sharing their stories too. This is bigger than we imagined." Maya nodded, her heart swelling with hope. "But what if it backfires? What if they try to discredit me?" The doubt lingered, but Lena shook her head vehemently. "No, you're doing this for everyone who's been treated unfairly. This is the moment we've been waiting for. We need to strategize on how to keep this momentum going." Maya took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the movement resting on her shoulders. "You're right. We can't let this die down. We have to keep pushing, keep fighting for change." Together, they began to outline their next steps, fueled by the determination to turn Maya's painful experience into a powerful catalyst for change. The fight was far from over, and in that moment, Maya realized that she had become a voice for many, and she was ready to embrace the challenge ahead. In the days following the protest, Maya found herself navigating a whirlwind of newfound attention. The buzz surrounding her story had spread like wildfire, igniting conversations about racial discrimination in upscale retail environments. She sat at her kitchen table, surrounded by a stack of newspapers and her phone, which buzzed incessantly with notifications. Each ping was a reminder of the momentum she had unintentionally created. "Lena, can you believe this?" Maya exclaimed, her voice a mix of disbelief and excitement. She held up a newspaper with a bold headline: "Mall Protest Sparks National Outcry." Lena, sitting across from her, leaned in to read the article, her brows furrowed in concentration. "It's incredible. You've become the voice for so many people who've faced this kind of discrimination," Lena replied, her eyes shining with pride. "We need to keep this going. This is just the beginning." Maya nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. Activists and organizations had started reaching out, eager to amplify her message and discuss policy changes in shopping malls across the country. Calls for interviews flooded in, and each one felt like an opportunity to further the conversation. Later that week, while sipping coffee in a local cafe, Maya received a call from a prominent civil rights attorney named David Thompson. His voice was calm, yet commanding as he introduced himself. "Maya, I've been following your story closely, and I want to help you take legal action against the mall," he said, his tone serious. "What happened to you is not just a personal affront. It's a systemic issue that needs to be addressed." Maya felt a surge of adrenaline at the mention of a lawsuit. The prospect of fighting back against the mall's management stirred something deep within her. A sense of responsibility not only for herself, but for countless others who had endured similar injustices. "I want to do it," she replied, her heart racing. "It's time to hold them accountable." David's voice softened, a hint of encouragement evident. "That's the spirit, Maya. Together, we can shed light on these discriminatory practices and push for real change." As they discussed the details, Maya's determination solidified. She envisioned a future where no one else would have to endure the humiliation she had faced, and the thought fueled her resolve. A few days later, as Maya prepared for her first press conference, she felt a mix of nerves and excitement. Lena stood by her side, adjusting Maya's blazer and offering words of encouragement. "You're going to do great. Just speak from your heart," she said, giving Maya's shoulder a reassuring squeeze. When Maya stepped up to the podium, the cameras flashed and reporters clamored for her attention. She took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping over the crowd. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steady. "I stand before you not just as a victim of discrimination, but as a survivor, a fighter for justice. This isn't just about me. It's about all of us who have been marginalized and judged based on the color of our skin." As she spoke, the weight of her words hung in the air. We need to dismantle the systems that allow such behavior to persist. It's time for change, and I am committed to making sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. After the conference, as the media coverage continued to grow, Maya was invited to participate in discussions with influential activists and leaders in the civil rights movement. Each conversation opened her eyes to the broader implications of her fight, revealing just how deep-rooted the issues of racial profiling and discrimination were. One evening, after a particularly intense meeting, Maya and Lena sat on the couch in Maya's apartment, the city lights twinkling outside the window. "Can you believe how far we've come?" Lena said, her voice filled with awe. Maya smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude for the support around her. "It's surreal. I never imagined my experience would resonate with so many people. But it's not just about me anymore. It's about creating real, lasting change." As they discussed their plans for the next steps, Maya felt a sense of purpose wash over her. With each passing day, her resolve grew stronger. She was not just fighting for herself, she was leading a movement. And in that moment, surrounded by friendship and support, she knew that her unbreakable spirit would continue to inspire others to join the fight against injustice. The courtroom was tense, a palpable sense of anticipation hanging in the air as Maya sat at the plaintiff's table, her heart pounding like a drum. The judge, a stern woman with sharp glasses perched on her nose, called the session to order. Maya's attorney, a determined woman named Jessica, stood confidently beside her, ready to present the case that had captured the attention of the nation. "Your Honor," Jessica began, her voice steady and clear, "we have gathered considerable evidence that shows a systemic pattern of racial profiling conducted by the mall security team." She gestured to a large screen at the front of the courtroom, where a series of documents flashed, revealing internal memos and training materials that explicitly instructed security personnel to target shoppers based on their race. A collective gasp echoed through the courtroom. Maya's heart raced as she watched the faces of the jurors, some of whom looked shocked, while others wore expressions of disbelief. She felt a surge of hope mixed with anxiety. This was it, the moment that could change everything. "Let the record show," Jessica continued, "that this evidence is not just anecdotal. It is concrete proof of discrimination and bias ingrained within the mall's operations." She turned to the jury, her voice rising with conviction. "This is not just about Maya Johnson. This is about every individual who has faced judgment based solely on the color of their skin. This is a call for justice." As the presentation unfolded, Maya felt a wave of solidarity wash over her. The evidence laid bare the ugliness of systemic racism, and she could see that it resonated with the audience. Jessica skillfully walked through testimonies from other shoppers, each revealing their own experiences of being unfairly scrutinized while shopping. "Objection, Your Honor," came a voice from the back of the courtroom. It was the defense attorney, a slick man in a tailored suit. "This evidence is circumstantial and does not prove any wrongdoing on the part of my client." The judge raised an eyebrow, but allowed Jessica to continue. Maya held her breath, gripping the edge of the table as the tension in the room escalated. After a brief recess, the courtroom returned to order, and the mall's manager, Mr. Thornton, was called to the stand. He shuffled in, visibly uncomfortable, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. Maya felt a sense of dread mixed with anticipation. This was the man who had allowed a culture of bias to thrive in his establishment. Under Jessica's questioning, Mr. Thornton's confidence began to unravel. "Is it true," she asked, "that you implemented policies that encouraged racial profiling among your security staff?" He hesitated, glancing nervously at his attorney. We just wanted to ensure the safety of our patrons," he stammered. "Safety or exclusion?" Jessica pressed, her voice firm. "You admit to profiling shoppers based on their appearance. You allow your staff to treat people differently based on race. Is that correct?" The courtroom fell silent as Thornton shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Yes," he finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. We thought we were protecting our brand." Gasps erupted from the audience, and Maya felt a surge of anger mixed with relief. The truth was out, and it was damning. "Your brand," Jessica echoed incredulously. "What about the dignity and respect of the people who shop here? What about their rights?" The outrage in the courtroom was palpable, and the judge had to bang her gavel to restore order. Maya's heart swelled. This was the moment she had fought for, an acknowledgement of the injustice that had been brushed aside for too long. When the verdict was finally announced, Maya felt as if the air had been knocked out of her. "We find in favor of the plaintiff, Maya Johnson." The judge's voice rang clear, and the courtroom erupted in cheers and applause. As she stepped outside the courthouse, a crowd of supporters awaited her, their faces filled with pride and joy. Maya raised her arms in triumph, tears streaming down her cheeks. She had not only won her case, but had ignited a movement that would demand change, forcing institutions to confront their biases. "Today, we stand united," Maya shouted, her voice strong and unwavering. "This is just the beginning. Together, we will continue to fight for justice and equality for all." The crowd roared in agreement, a sea of energy and hope. Maya felt a sense of peace wash over her, realizing that her painful experience had transformed into a powerful symbol of resilience, sparking a broader movement for change that would echo far beyond the walls of the mall.